Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, do we have any changes to the agenda?
We have one, Mayor. We're going to be removing item number 2.1. Unfortunately, the scholarship recipient was unable to attend tonight, so we'll be rescheduling that for another meeting.
All right. Any other changes from council? Okay, seeing none, can I get a council to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as written with the changes to 2.1.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Seeing none, agenda's approved. Going to move on to item number 2.2, San Francisco SPA presentation, Spay Neuter campaign by Kylie Ramos.
Francisco SPCA, but I actually live and work remotely from Fresno, so somewhat local. And I just wanted to run through this project that San Francisco SPCA, RSO Foundation, and Give Me Love are all kind of working together to bring spay and neuter to Coalinga. So starting off with the basics, why spay neuter animals? Why does this matter? One point that we like to talk about, which is very kind of puts it into perspective, is that one dog spay can prevent 10,000 puppies over the lifetime of that dog. So with unaltered animals, they continue to reproduce exponentially over the course of their lives. So the 10,000 is kind of a conservative number. It's probably more. So it's just all the more reason to move forward with spaying and neutering animals. Our animal shelters are impacted across the valley and the state. As many of you probably know, most shelters in Fresno County, the shelter here, pretty much everywhere, there's no space for more animals. So the more animals that are being created, there's just no place for them to go. Part of the thought around this project is to, one, create, a healthier, safer community with less, as we call, unwanted animals. And the way that we're planning to do that is by providing 5 to 10 subsidized spay neuters per 1,000 households. Actually, for this project, we're planning to exceed that. And it has been shown that doing those 5 to 10 subsidized spay neuters per household, or per 1,000 households, will decrease shelter intake. So that leads to less animals that are potentially being euthanized or injured on the streets or sick in the shelters. So this project is going to it's going to protect the health of the community and the health of pets in the community. It's also going to help prevent financial and emotional burden by preventing diseases and issues that arise when animals are not altered. So a quick project outline of what this is going to look like. Our goal is to spay and neuter 750 animals between July and December of this year. Clients will be paying a $20 deposit for spay and neuter that will cover the cost of vaccinations, pain meds, and/or an e-collar, so the cone of shame, as we like to call it. And the way that we're planning to do this is by partnering with SnipBus, which is a third-party spay-neuter provider. They have a mobile unit, and they go across California providing spay and neuter services. And we're also planning to partner with Animal Balance, which is a very similar group that goes across the state and even internationally to provide spay and neuter services as well. So I'll talk a little bit more about those partnerships later. But we are planning to start with SnipBus as early as July 15th and 16th. We have those dates locked in. They're going to be coming to Coalinga and providing spay-neuter services. And while they're here for those 2 days, they're going to perform 100 to 120 surgeries. So it's just kind of outlining some of those dates that we're planning to have. Another potential partnership that we're hoping to bring to Coalinga is called Vets and Vans. They provide subsidized veterinary care to underserved communities in the Bay Area, but we are in talks with them to come out here to the Valley. And their specialty is providing additional wellness care. So aside from spay-neuter, they're helping with the ear infections, the hurt paws, the other things aside from spay-neuter that need to be addressed. And our plan with them would be to bring them in at the end of the project, and animals who have been spayed and neutered would be eligible for this extra care that they might need. So kind of the incentive to get your pet spayed and neutered. A little bit more about kind of SFSPCA's role in all of this and the partners we plan to work with. So San Francisco SPCA, we've been doing some expansion work in the Central Valley for a little over a year now, and we host spay and neuter clinics at the Fresno Animal Center, which is the Fresno City Shelter. We perform spay-neuter for shelter animals and owned pets in Fresno. We've also expanded to helping Clovis with some of their community cats. And we also offer some appointments to Give Me Love as well. We've been working with SnipBus in Fresno as well as Animal Balance, so we have a very strong relationship with both of those groups. SnipBus has been coming to Fresno Humane, the Fresno County Shelter, for probably 8 months now, and they're providing spay-neuter for shelter and public animals 2 to 3 days a month. Animal Balance has been coming to the Fresno City Shelter 3 days a month as well and providing spay-neuter for public animals. So I personally have been working really closely with these two groups and have really good relationships with them. So more on community engagement. The success of this project that we're putting together is really going to rely on the level of community engagement here. So we want to make sure that our clinics are marketed equitably in English and Spanish and any other languages that are spoken here in Coalinga. Social media is a great way to get the word out, but we want to look past that too to other avenues like newspapers, local magazines, actually flyering in the community and making sure that people are hearing about when these clinics are available, even if they don't have social media. So just making sure we're really getting the word out, especially to the people who need these services the most. SNP bus, Animal Balance, and Vets and Vans coming to Coalinga, they're providing a very valuable service and a very needed service. And this project can lead to a really positive relationship between providers and Coalinga. So a good example of this is SNP bus had not worked much in Fresno before. We brought them to Fresno. They have really enjoyed working with the Fresno County Shelter because they help ensure that people show up to their appointments. They're really great with scheduling. There's a lot of buy-in. They're making a big deal about this. So in turn, SNP bus loves working with Fresno because everything's going so great. So some steps to success, I think, in bringing these organizations to Coalinga for spay neuter. We would really love the city to help with marketing clinics, like I mentioned before, just making sure that the word is spread across the whole community that these appointments are available. Providing suitable space for SNP bus and Animal Balance to work. So SNP bus just needs a safe place to park their vehicle, but they provide everything else. Ensuring clients show up to appointments, not necessarily, knocking on their door and being like, hey, where are you? But just communicating that this is a really, really big opportunity. This is a really serious thing. If you're gonna sign up, you've gotta show up. We don't wanna waste spots because other people need them. So just speaking about it like it is important because it is. Buy-in from community and city leaders. I think the more that the community is into this, again, speaking about it with importance and sharing that with the community, it's gonna get people excited and taking advantage of these opportunities. And then also looking to create some community partnerships around this with maybe some small businesses, Tractor Supply, places that might provide leashes, collars, pet food, something that we can give away with spay neuter services as kind of an incentive. It's not clicking. Any questions about this project?
Any questions from council? You have your contact information that you could share with us?
I can
Like
share
card
it.
or- yeah.
Yeah, my card is not up to date. I apologize, but I can share my information with you.
Okay. Or is there any questions from the community?
Yes.
And if there is, you're gonna need to come up to the mic and state your name.
Could you please explain the difference between feral and community cats?
That's a tricky one. And people might have different definitions of that. Community cats as a whole are cats that live in the community. That can be cats that are friendly. It can be cats that are not friendly. We just kind of create this group called community cats. Feral cats, by definition, are cats that are not friendly, not really handleable. So that's kind of the difference. There can be friendly cats living in the community that don't have a true owner, but they're still, they'll come up to you, you can kind of touch them, but feral cats are really, you can't handle them. That's how I view those two.
Any other questions from the community? Yeah.
So, do I have to go up there?
Please. That's the only way that since we stream this online, we need to make sure that everyone online can hear this too, so.
Okay, so I'm Lori Anderson with Gimme Love, and we want to explain that for 2 years now, we have been doing spay and neuter on a grant from UC Davis and Cal Animals, and we've done several. Like this year so far, I think we've done almost 400. Last year we did 400. So, but what we want to explain is that we have lists that we've taken from the community, from phone calls, messages, and we have around 650 animals, I believe, still to go. So it's very important that we can do this with San Francisco and RSO, and we can continue to finish that list, because we have people saying, well, I've been on there for 2 years. At this time, we do not have anyone doing our female dogs. So we've been sending it out to the public. If they'll make appointments at certain places and take their own animals, we will reimburse with our grant, and we have been doing that. But we definitely need this program so we can get the dogs in. We're just lacking on hitting the female dogs. So we do have a huge list that they will start with when they come here, and those spots will be filled pretty much already, but then it'll be open to the community, from what I understand, any other spots. They do need a place for the SNP bus to be parked and kept safe. We were asking that maybe the city could provide free dog license to the people who do this and have the rabies vaccination, that maybe they could get the dog license free. Also, that they might need help on putting up some of the vets and the vet techs that come. They might need motel rooms for when they come to do this, to see if the city in some way could help with that also. And microchips. We still are doing microchips. We've done several. I wish I had brought the paperwork to show you how many we're doing. I think we still have around 200 left. But if we can hit all these animals, like we plan on doing around 700 animals, and we could use more microchips. I understand if you want the public to pay for them now, that's, I'm just putting it out there, that the microchips have made a huge difference, that we are returning way more dogs than we've ever returned before. So I think, and people are stepping up and taking responsibility for that. So we're just asking of those things from the city to see if they can participate in that way. We do have plans on passing out flyers in this community. If we have to go door to door, that's what we will do, but we're definitely going to hit up certain areas we know where animals are huge numbers and they need help. So we plan on hitting that up. We still have some grant money left from UC Davis and Cal Animals, and we're going to continue that project with the cats and use that money to finish our cats up, while RSO and them work on the dog issue for this. So that's the plan, and I think together we can all make it happen. And we've got to do something with this animal population. It's just outrageous. So I don't know if anyone has any questions about what we're asking the community to help with. We plan on hitting the creek bed also, where we know there are a large number of dogs down there. We want to make sure that they're brought up and they get done also.
Okay.
So that's the plan that we have for all of it. And working with Dawn, they have the Grange, and they've offered the 2 rooms in the back for the animal balance to be able, when they come, because they don't bring a bus, they need rooms. We're working on that with them so that we can have a place for them to do their business.
Well, if I can request that you just follow up with the city on the things that you asked for,
Okay.
that way that they can work
Okay,
with
an
you.
email?
Yep.
Okay,
right.
awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Richard? Can you come up real quick, please? Sorry, the people online can't hear you. I know. Well, let's get one. Okay, we'll get one.
It's more or less to her, is that the Elks Lodge, we have a really large parking lot, and we fenced in our whole grassy area in the back, that we also have RV hookups there. If any of the the vans needed to be parked, we can also pull them into our fenced-in area. They can pull their vans in there if they want to leave there, or if they want to use our parking lot for whatever. The Elks are open to whatever the city would want, or you would want to use this. And we're over there on Cambridge Avenue, so we just want to put that out to you, that just let us know when the dates are, and we're there. You guys, they come and they do their fundraiser at our lodge, so they know all about the elk. So we'll be glad to join in with you on that. if it's okay. Thank you. You bet.
Thanks, Richard. All right, any more questions? Okay, seeing none. Ms. Ramos, can you make sure that you do get in contact with us at the city, though? I'm sure we have a lot of different things in policies and ordinances and things like that that we're working on that we want. We'd love to have some guidance also from the SPCA. All right, thank you so much. All right, gonna move on to retail recruitment update and partnership recap from Retail Strategies, John Mark Boozer and Brooke Hill. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, and hello, council members. It's great to see everybody. My name is Brooke Hill. I'm the Portfolio Director for Retail Strategies, and this is my colleague, John Mark Boozer, who's the Retail Development Manager. And we've prepared a brief slideshow just to kind of give an overview of us and our services and kind of some updates in our partnership thus far. So, do I need to, oh, clicker, got it, thanks. Okay, so Retail Strategies is a full-service advisory firm that was founded over 10 years ago, and we work with cities acting as an extension of their economic development efforts, specifically for national retail recruitment. So essentially, we are working as a commercial broker for the city, speaking with property owners, different national tenant representatives, with that retail real estate mindset with a fiduciary responsibility to the city of Coalinga. And so what does that look like? So at the beginning of our partnership, and then this is updated annually or as requested, we do a full data and demographics research. We've got different research subscriptions that our company uses, and so we look at the market from a retail lens. So we're looking at the population, and it allows us to see the same, the market from the same view that the retailers view it. We use a lot of the same subscription services that these retailers use. We also perform what we call our boots on the ground tour. So we come to the market at least once a year, and we view the market from that retail lens. So we drive around, we create a property catalog, we look at the existing retail, we look at higher and better use opportunities, we look at land that may be available for development, and we catalog all of that, and then we begin reaching out to property owners just to kind of see what the status is. But we want to have those sites available for when we do talk to retailers of what they may be looking for, and so that's kind of a big part of our boots on the ground tour. We also represent the city of Coalinga at trade shows. So for we go to 3 trade shows a year. ICSC Monterey is in the spring. ICSC Las Vegas is the big national show. That was last month. And then there's a Western specific show in fall. And so we go to all 3 of those, and what that allows us to do is really talk to the decision makers in the industry. We get to connect with these people, we get to shake hands with them, we get to have face-to-face conversations with them, find out where they're looking, and honestly, we're talking about the market. We're putting it in front of them, we're keeping it in front of them. We call it pleasant persistence. Some of these real estate people get hundreds of emails a day, so we ask to pray for patience because it is a pleasant persistence where we are constantly just kind of chirping in their ear, making sure, hey, if you're expanding, have you considered this site in Coalinga for something? And so constantly reaching out to them. We like to say we're an investment multiplier. We are an extension of your team. We work closely with the city manager, and so we are out there kind of in the weeds doing it, talking to these real estate professionals and retailers to keep the market top of mind for them. And we also like to say we're a relationship agent, and that we are leveraging our connections to help keep the community in front of these retailers as they're expanding and looking for new locations. Okay, so this may be familiar for some of you. This is probably how you view Coalinga, with a population of around 1,700 and the designated place boundary. This is not how retailers view it. They look at things from a 3, 5, 10 minute drive, 3, 5, and 10 mile radius ring, or a 5, 10, and 15 minute drive time. So each retailer has their own specific formula of what will work best for when they open a store. They also look at mobile tracking, or a customized trade area. So what we do here is we use mobile tracking data from the West Valley Shopping Center. And so that top picture is a heat map. So anything that's national retail has a geofence, and what that does is it'll ping your phone whenever you go in, and then when you go home at night, it designates where you spend your evening hours, and it designates that as your home location. And from there, they take that data so they know that where their shoppers are coming from. So the heavier shaded region is where the most shoppers for the West Valley Shopping Center are coming. But as you can see, there's some other outlying areas that are still pretty heavily shaded. So what we do is we kind of make this polygon on the bottom, and that becomes the custom trade area for who is actually coming into Kalinga and shopping in your market. And as you can see, it expands beyond city boundaries. And what that does when we're speaking to these retailers is it actually grows the population from that 17,000 number to more of like a 32,000. And so this is your customized trade area. This is what we're talking to retailers with. It also, we've got the 2029 population, so that shows the population's growing. And then just some other metrics that the retailers typically will look at: household income, average age, things like that. And so we also run a void analysis. And what this is what is the supply in the market versus what is the demand in the market? And so the demand in the market is greater than the supply. So there's actually an opportunity gap of $442 million of sales dollars that could be captured if more stores were to open. And so those are all varying different segments of retail. And then we also like to include this slide. It just kind of shows how retail builds on each other. So on that first rung, you can see Starbucks, Papa John's, McDonald's, Popeyes, Buffalo Wild Wings, Dollar Tree, Panda Express. Those are kind of what we call first mover retailers. Those are retailers that will go into a market, and then from there, they'll start to attract some of those other, like Chipotle Grocery Outlet. And this is just a loose example of retailers, but it just, retail builds on each other. They continue. And then also over on the right side, you can see as you get higher up in the rung, more jobs are created. And typically the stores, the higher up you go, the more annual sales volumes that they create. So that's going to be more of a sales tax capture, the more, if a store comes in and they make more annual sales volume. And so from that, we do, in our partnership thus far, have generated some potential interest. And I'm just going to run through these. At this point, the specific retailer name has been redacted. We can't share that publicly. So it's just the general concept of who the retailer is. But there is a Mexican fast casual retailer that's interested. They're in site selection currently. There's a soft goods retailer who has having ongoing talks and negotiations. There is a grocer who previously had signed a deal, but they are currently reassessing this restructuring internally. There is a fitness concept who is franchisee driven. Their operator is reviewing the market. There's a fast casual deli, and their corporate team told us that they would be interested in the market, but they need a franchisee. They're franchisee driven and operated. And also there's a coffee concept that they are also in site selection, reviewing various sites in the market. And so on this next slide is kind of the economic impact. What does that mean? And I will note that these numbers are the estimated average annual revenue numbers are statewide. They are the California annual sales volumes for these stores. So with Kalinga being a smaller market, these might be a little inflated, but so Tractor Supply looks great. Their annual sales volumes for the state of California are about $6 million per store, creating 18 jobs. Fast casual Mexican food that we mentioned is interested on the previous slide. They typically are about $2.397 million in annual sales revenue, and then the coffee user is about $1.5 million. And so just between those three, it's the potential to create 53 jobs. And with these numbers, again, these are the state average annual sales, but up to about $99,000 in sales tax revenue that the city could then use for other initiatives that they choose. And so John Mark is going to do a quick run through of this timeline.
Hey everyone, good to see you all. I'm an absolute real estate nerd, so I could take about 2 hours on this one slide. I don't know how long y'all have, but I'll go through this really quickly. It basically just outlines how commercial real estate deals work. The caveat to this slide outlines about 3 years. I've seen some of these deals take 6 to 8 months, and I've seen some of these take up to 6 years. So starting on the far left, these companies are owned by somebody, whether they're publicly traded on the stock market or they are owned by a private entity, individual, whoever it might be. Their goal is obviously to maximize their investment. So they'll say, okay, we want to make more money, maximize our investment. We need to either increase the existing sales of existing stores or open new stores. Believe it or not, it's easier to open new stores. So they'll go there, they'll have a executive team of real estate people that will kind kind of nationwide and either state by state or region by region, start working with a local tenant representative broker. Think of that as your buyer's representative if you're buying a house. They will start to identify different markets, different sites, different requirements that they have. Do they have to be on a site with a red light? Do they have to have a grocery store with them? All of these different things can depend on the retailers. From there, they will find a site that they like, a building, piece of land, whatever it might be. They will discuss it internally, maybe present it to a real estate director, to other executives. They will do a pro forma, and the pro forma is basically a glorified budget. They'll look at sales projections, costs, kind of see if everything pencils out in that way. From there, if everything looks good, site looks good, they like the markets, all of that sort of thing, they will go to a letter of intent, and I'll say the letter of intent is the first step in about 1 million things going wrong. And as you can see in this example, it's already 2 years in on that. And again, sometimes it can be immediate, sometimes it can take years just to get to this step. Letter of intent basically ties up the site. Hey, this is ours. We're going to move forward with purchasing or leasing it. It'll go to a real estate committee, team of executives, sometimes in real estate, sometimes in not. It will get approved or not approved. If it does get approved, it will either be a lease or a purchase. Developer will move in, they will purchase, or they will start to do construction, redevelop the site, that sort of thing. And depending on how long construction and utility hookups and all of that can take, hopefully a store will open soon after that. So we come in at the point of the real estate director, the tenant representative broker. These are really the relationships that we use, whether they are local here in California or whether they are in New York. We utilize our relationships and the people that we know to highlight the market, keep it top of mind, and present opportunities that are either public or not public for them for consideration.
And so on that boots on the ground tour, we do create this property catalog. And so that timeline really, how long it can last depends on the site. These retailers are extremely site specific. So if they're waiting for a site or if there's issues with the site, those are things that can draw out that timeline. But we update this when we come. We are, we're reaching out to property owners. We have these sites ready, match them up with what retail requirements they would match up with, and keep updating that and speaking out for the property owners to know what the status with each site is. And then there's a couple focus properties that John Mark's gonna run.
Yeah, so to be brief with these, I know, the former Kmart has been a subject that has been under discussion and, in the public eye, for a very long time. For that, since the beginning of the partnership, we have, the property has run through 2 different developers. So very beginning of the partnership, one developer had it. We immediately made contact with them, got everything that they were working on, everything that they needed, started proactively reaching out to potential retailers for the existing space that they had for that. At one point, the first developer moved on, was not able to purchase the property for whatever reason that might be. From there, the property was available. We proactively reached out to developer contacts that we had across the state and across the nation. Once the second developer, the current owner of the site, purchased the site, we have maintained regular contact with them since they purchased it, highlighting retailers that could be a fit, that have expressed interest to us, and then helping them along the way with any potential needs on the real estate end as well, again, acting as an extension of the city in that sense. And then on Rite Aid, we've been monitoring Rite Aid company-wide for a very long time. They're on their second bankruptcy right now. Ever since their first bankruptcy, we've been watching them across the nation. This is a nationwide thing that so many cities and so many people across the country are looking at and dealing with this excess real estate, and really the pharmacy industry as a whole in this way. So for the Rite Aid, it's been on the watch list for a long time. On our market visit last November, we were collaborating with Sean, talking about that. We actually went there, looked at it, understood kind of the status of the site. We actually reached out to Rite Aid Corporate, asked them, again, this was last year, for the status of the site. They said, hey, it's going to remain open, no closure plans right now, it's continuing on. From there, again, we kind of knew what was going on, so we continued communication with Sean, continued watching the site. Now with Rite Aid's second bankruptcy, I believe that they're closing all locations nationwide. So from there, we are going to be in discussions and working with the property owner, creating a prospect list, and then proactively reaching out to the retailers, amplifying the work that the property owner and those brokers might be doing as well to help backfill that very quickly.
And so as John Mark kind of mentioned, and with the timeline, it is a continued outreach. It is a long game. We are constantly regularly check in with these retailers, who's expanding, who's contracting, who's expressed interest, do they need additional sites, we will connect them with the city if there's something they want to talk about, maybe permitting or anything like that. And so it really is continued outreach, and we have enjoyed working with Kalinga and are honored to continue to be a part and an extension of your team. So, thank you, and I guess any questions?
Any questions from council? Any questions from the public? Seeing none, I appreciate you guys coming in. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank
All right, we're going to move on to item number 2.4, Code Enforcement Report for April and May 2025. Yanith Ibarra, Code Enforcement Officer.
Good evening, council, city staff, and Kalinga residents. So here is my report covering the months of April and May. So I'm going to start off by with the case activities. In April, I opened 43 new cases and I closed 60 cases. Out of those, 7 cases I issued administrative citations. So for the month of May, I opened 46 new cases and 35 were closed. And out of those, 5 cases were issued administrative citations. So as I noted in previous reports, I had been working closely with our attorneys to obtain abatement warrants for persistent public nuisances. And I am pleased to share that after long years, a longstanding nuisance case has finally been resolved, and that the nuisance is fully abated as of April of 2025. Okay, so moving forward onto the Derby of 2025. So things went actually relatively smooth this year. I didn't have a lot of issues. I only had one unauthorized taco stand who attempted to set up, but was shut down before operating. Additionally, I had 2 unauthorized merchant vendors who were asked to leave, and they did. I didn't have any issues with any food vendors or hot dog vendors this year, so that was a good thing. Okay, regarding vehicle nuisances, in April, I issued a total of 15 vehicle tags and 8 parking citations. In May, I issued 10 vehicle tags and 4 parking citations. That's all I have for this. Any questions?
All right, thanks. Any questions from the council? No? All right, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to citizens' comments. This section of the agenda allows members of the public to address the city council on any item within the jurisdiction of the council. Members of the public, when recognized by the mayor, should come forward to the lectern, identify themselves, and use the microphone. Comments are normally limited to 3 minutes in accordance with state open meeting laws. No action will be taken by the city council this evening, and all items will be referred to staff for follow-up and a report. Citizen comments submitted in writing to the city by 5 p.m. on the day of the city council meeting shall be distributed to the city council and included in the record. However, they will not be read. Do we have any public comments? Let's go with Haley.
Hill, current secretary of the Kalinga Elks Lodge. Just so you know, Kalinga Elks has been in this community since 1938. We have been at our current location since 1964. So I come to you today just to let you know about our fundraiser we're doing. It's for the lodge. So as you know, since 1938, we have given back over $1 million to this community. But when we do get grants such as that, we can't use them to fix our own lodge. So what I've put together is a brick fundraiser for the lodge. And basically, the bricks will be placed around the flagpole. We'll be removing the gravel and laying down the bricks. So you can purchase a brick and you can honor a veteran, a loved one, a significant event, or person, or a business. The bricks they're 4x8s, and the bricks are $50. And you can also get an 8x8 brick, and they are $75. The 4x8 brick, you will get 4 lines, 21 characters per line. You'll get if you want a logo on your 4x8 brick, you only get 3 lines and 18 characters per line. It's all written down what I've given you, but I'll also be putting it on Facebook to the public if they would like to get involved in our fundraiser. The logos, if we can only offer a stock logo, so if you go on Bricks R Us, you can look at all their stock logos. And then if the 8x8 brick is 8 lines, 21 characters per line, and the 8x8 with the logo is 6 lines, is 18 characters per line. So just so you know, our lodge, we give back a lot to the community with our lodge. We donate it for, not only the high school, but other events, Gimme Love, the Girl Scouts, the cheerleaders. We give the use of our lodge to charity a lot. And we do have some bigger issues at the lodge, one being our air conditioning unit in our main lodge room is pretty much gone out. So this is one of the reasons we're doing the fundraiser, is to fix our lodge. And if we can get the big items fixed, then possibly we will bring our lodge more up to date, with our decor, if I want to say, But our main focus is fixing our air conditioning units. Like I said, the bricks will be placed around the flagpole, be removing the gravel, so it's gonna look nice, And, if you've been in Kalinga a long time, you'd like to, remember somebody, it'd be really good to have a brick there, And, because the flagpoles look really good, so I'd like them to look even better with the bricks. So that's all I got to say. So if you could pass on the information that we're doing this brick fundraiser, I'd appreciate it, but I will be putting it on social media. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Hey, I've got a question for you.
Sorry, questions, sorry.
So what else do you guys need fixed? Besides the AC? I know it's an old building and you guys do a lot for the community, so what else needs to be taken care of down there that you're looking to get done?
Okay, so one of the things is, like I said, the air conditioning. We could use a new freezer, and then in our bar area needs a little bit of improvement in there. We just got a new ice machine, but that was just through people donating. We got enough people to donate like $1,600 to buy a new ice machine because it was totally out, so we did that. But yeah, the bigger items cost more, but the air conditioning is the biggest issue. And I'll tell you one other thing is our roof leaks in our lodge room and in the front entrance area, the roof leaks. So those are the 2 biggest issues, the roof leaking and the air conditioning units. And and the roof, yeah, and the roof. So,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Any other question? No. All right.
Any other questions from council? No? Okay. Next comment? Chuck?
Good evening, everybody. I'd just like a quick thank you to the police department and the fire department. The other day, Calneva had a little utility trailer catch on fire. Police saw it, they immediately called the fire department. The fire department rolled out, and with their quick response, it saved one of the Calneva pickups from burning up to a total loss. So I just want to say thank you. Good job, you guys. That's it.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Any other public comments? All right, seeing none, we're going to move on to the consent calendar. We have a healthy consent calendar here. About 32 items. It is a record? All right, it's a record. So what would council like to do? Is there any items council would like to pull?
I have to.
Okay.
I'd like to pull 5, 7,
5 and 7?
5, 13.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, so you want to
Sorry
pull
about
5,
that.
7,
5, 13,
5, 13,
and 5, 22. 5, 22.
Okay. So that's 7, 13, and 22 from you? Any other council want to pull any of the rest of them? 5, 6. 6? Any others? I'll pull number 9. How about you, Jim? All right. Number 8, okay. All right, we're gonna start with 5.6. Approval of the second amendment to the communications site lease agreement with T-Mobile West Tower LLC for the continued use of the portion of city-owned property for telecommunication purposes, cell tower site lease at Palmer Avenue and Highway 19833.
I would just wanted to ask for information. Or somebody asked me what does this mean. I wanted to see just for public information.
So these are, the city owns property up near the Palmer Reservoir, up on the top of the hill. And we actually lease out 2 cell towers to 2 different companies, T-Mobile West Tower LLC. And this is just an extension of a current lease agreement we have with them. And so there is an increase in the annual rent of $30,000 beginning in 2028, once the current lease agreement expires. And then the city will also receive a $10,000 one-time signing bonus upon full execution. And then it also includes information regarding subleasing, so they can have additional carriers. So as they add additional carriers, the city actually receives 50% of that revenue too. So this is just a longer-term lease to keep this going. We've had these leases, I think, since about in the 90s.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Move on to item number 7, which is discussion and potential action regarding the adoption of Resolution 4272, establishing a temporary policy for the issuance of press releases by the mayor on behalf of the city council.
So I noticed, I think we spoke about this maybe a meeting or 2 ago. I noticed that it says issuance process is the mayor and the mayor pro tem. And one of the things that we might consider adding on is if the mayor pro tem is not available, then any other council member could potentially, is that something that we could do on that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that something anybody else may be interested in?
I'm interested in whatever council's interested in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to continue. I mean, it says mayor and mayor pro tem specifically, but if the mayor pro tem is not available, or even the mayor, you know, and there's something that we need to get out, the pro tem, you know, we need to be able to get at least 2 people on board to release it, minimum.
I'm okay with that. You guys okay with that?
Yeah, that's all.
So can you guys make the change in language and then bring it back? Or is it okay to make the changes and move forward tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clear what you guys want, and so if you want to approve number 7, subject to that modification, you can approve it tonight, and we'll make the changes.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right.
Do we need to vote on that one separate?
No.
Okay.
I mean, whoever makes the motion, if they just put that in the motion, those
Okay.
modifications to number 7,
Okay.
that'll be fine.
Okay, number 8, council review and approval of homeless encampment policy.
Yeah, with the issues with the homeless encampments and stuff, is there an app that we have or can get? That way citizens can put their complaints or concerns that way, if they're not able to get a hold of anybody during the days?
I'm going to let Councilman Hedgecock
Oh,
answer that
I'm
question.
all over this. Add it to the, hey, can we just add it to the app?
Yeah,
Please, okay.
Just add it to the app.
There you go.
sure.
Yep.
Does,
Right. That was
that's
easy.
just,
That's
we'll go ahead and approve that as is, and then that'll just be extra direction? Okay, all right, perfect.
Good job, Jim.
All right, number 9, City Council approval of City Council electronic device purchase and buyback. And the reason I pulled this was because I just wanted to make sure that there was a depreciated amount per year that was added to this rather than just looking at it at a 4-year stance. That way that, because sometimes people come on mid-term, sometimes people, resign early. I just want to make sure that everyone gets the same opportunity. And so, do you have an idea on how that works, Sean?
Yeah, I think we can do that, especially I think because we're going to be purchasing some new devices here this year, and some council members have a couple years left. We did use what they call a straight line depreciation as kind of the methodology we use for determining what the value of that particular device would be worth after the 4-year term. So if we're using that same model, it would basically, we would just use percentages of like after 2 years, it'd be 55%. After 1 year, it would be 85%. So we can basically update that. So in year 1, it'd be 77.5%, 3 years at 32%, 32.5%. So we can do those. So at least if they're within 2 years, there's a buyback option, because the policy does state that a new council member coming on can purchase a device, or can get the device that they prefer when they come on as a new council member. So we can definitely do that. So after 2 years, that council member or anyone would have an opportunity within a year to be able to actually purchase that device under the buyback.
Well, just so that it's all clear, that way for the public and that way for everyone here, that way if there's no questions later.
Mm-hmm.
Is everyone okay with moving forward with a policy that's based on the percentage? Yeah?
Yes.
And can you guys make that change, update, or do we need to bring it back?
I can do it tonight.
Okay. All right, number 13, adopt resolution number 4275, approving lube technician job description.
Yeah, I just had a question on this, more or less. Do we currently have the necessary equipment and facilities to house another mechanic and to do the job?
Yeah, we
So-
do.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think as we progress through this, I think this will be the year that we start analyzing that a little bit more to see, because I feel as we move more into being able to work on all of our apparatus, our larger vehicles. They've been talking with the police chief and fire chief that we may need, I think long-term, we're gonna need to look at solutions long-term to be able to house all the equipment and be able to have the proper lifts, the proper space for, say, our ambulances and larger apparatus. The goal is to hopefully get our mechanic trained and certified to be able to work on our engines and our larger equipment as well. So that's kind of a long-term goal, and I think as we continue to go through that, we'll start looking at that and looking at opportunities to expand the service center. But I think for right now, what we're doing, this is really just going to alleviate a lot of the work that our mechanics doing, and really able to focus on some of the more in-depth and complex repairs.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right, on number 22, adopt resolution number 4265, adopting the fiscal year 2025-2026 annual budget.
Okay, I pulled this one because there's a lot of stuff in here. And underneath the proposed budget addition consideration, there's the council pay increase. Can we pull that out for a separate vote?
Yeah, we should.
Just the pay increase or this particular item?
Just the council pay increase out of that item. There's a lot under there.
Yeah, you can, depending,
So basically, can we pull item number 22 and vote on everything else, and then we'll discuss item number 22? Would that be okay?
I just want to separate out the one item, council pay increase, as it's a separate item.
Yes.
It's incorporated in the
I
budget.
don't want it to fall under the entire,
so probably the best way to do that is to pull out 22, vote on the rest of the consent calendar, and then you can discuss 22
And then if
on
we
its
wanna-
own.
And then if we want to change it, we could
Perfect.
change that.
Yes.
okay,
Okay.
yeah.
So to give the council an idea, the motion would be to approve the consent calendar, except number 22, but modifying 5.7 to include a second person in the resolution in case the mayor or the vice mayor were not available, and then modifying 5.9 to include the straight line depreciation.
Okay. That's what we need to do.
He said.
Can I entertain a motion? All
You
right,
can just say so moved if you want to.
I'll, can I,
So moved.
So
There you go.
moved? Okay.
Who's your first?
second?
I'll second.
Yes, Roger.
Been moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Jim seconded. Yeah.
All opposed? And does this have to be a, does this have to be a, because it doesn't include the budget, can it just be an all ayes or an all nays, or does it?
Yeah,
have
it
to
can be.
Okay, perfect.
It can be, as long as
All right, consent calendar passes
it was
with the,
unanimous, correct?
yeah, with the changes, and we're gonna move on to item number 22 and discuss that separately.
So as I said, I would like to take item 22 and pull the council pay increase portion of that out to vote on it separately.
So I guess the best way to do that is, you can make a motion to amend. Do you want to take it out, or you just want to have a separate vote on that?
Separate vote, just a separate vote. All the rest of the stuff can stay together.
You'd have to make a motion to do something with that line item, so do you want to keep it in the budget? If you want to pull it out of the budget, your motion would be to take it out?
I would like to take it out of this item and vote on it separately, whatever that is. So if I remove it, then no one gets to vote on it, right? How would that work?
Right, so if you make a motion to remove it from the budget, the rest of the council would have to agree and vote to take it out. And if it was successful, then it would actually come out, that line item, but then you'd remain, the rest of the budget would remain for your approval.
But we wouldn't be able to vote on that line item, correct?
Correct.
So you're essentially making a motion on approval on this item at minus the council pay increase in the budget.
Yes.
So then you'd have to make a motion, it has to be seconded. If it doesn't second, then if the motion fails. And then another motion would be on the table to approve the budget as is.
So can we get some, in discussion of this item, can we get some background on the council pay?
Yeah, so I've provided some information. So we included the council pay. I think we discussed this in a prior workshop, that we included the council pay increase, which represents the 5% increase year over year since 22. I think there was an ordinance that was adopted back in 2022, ordinance number 51, allowing a 5% increase for each year, which hasn't happened since the adoption of the ordinance. And so basically, that's what we included in the budget, is catching up from that ordinance 851.
And previous to that, it wasn't updated in 10 years, which is why it had to be brought back up so we can change the ordinance.
So can I ask, since we did change the ordinance, because I remember when we changed the ordinance, why wasn't it followed up with that every year that the increases happened? Because I kind of feel like this is redundant. So the reason I brought this up for the public listening is because when I attend council governments, kind of people talk about, like how much each city is getting, and some are getting what they're supposed to by what the state said of the amount that councils are supposed to get, and then some are getting far less. And when you listen and you ask why, it's just because the councils haven't moved forward with and the state actually further made rules on this that said we're supposed to move forward with something. And so that's why I brought it up. So maybe Mario could shed a little bit more light on this.
No, that's very, very common. I mean, council's kind of all over the place in taking council pay. I think if Councilman Schindler wants to have a vote to affirm, to make a motion to affirm that item in the budget, to keep it in the budget, you could do that.
Well, that's kind of what this whole thing does, is keep it in the budget. I want to be able to vote differently on this item versus everything else. Does that make any sense?
Well, it's not necessarily a different item. It's just, I think when we prepared the report, we wanted to highlight some of the items that are in the budget, and some of the items that we're going to continue to discuss. I don't know if it's an option if the council proceeds forward, approves it, and then maybe at a subsequent meeting can reduce it. I mean, it's a budget adjustment, right? I mean, so it could always come back as a separate item if you wanted to revisit this. But I don't know, and I don't know how that works, whether it's individual council members can
Yeah, I think if there's an
adjust the pay, or if it's, it really depends on what the entire council wants to do.
I think if there's an objection to increasing the pay, the best motion would really be to remove it, to make a motion to remove it from the budget. And then you could vote in, if there was a second, you would be able to vote in favor of that. And
Okay.
even if it didn't pass, the next step would be to vote on the full budget.
Okay.
So,
May I make a motion?
Yeah, I just had a quick question, and then yes. Question, what does that do to the ordinance that was already put into place that hasn't been followed?
If there's a motion that fails,
No, the current ordinance that's in place right now that we haven't been following on the 5% increase.
I don't
That's
have a
what I'm trying
copy
to
of the
figure out.
ordinance. I don't know if it's an automatic in the ordinance or if the council has to propose it.
Because I'll give you an example, like the city of Firebaugh, their representatives are getting 900 plus, and other cities around that are smaller than us are even getting that amount, and we're getting about 450. And I think it was a year ago when the state came forward and said, you guys got to do something, which means you have to either say that you're going to stay at the levels that you're at, or that you have to say that you're going to move forward with the increases. And the reason that there's background behind it, I don't have it in front of me, but there's a reason the state moved forward with making these changes, because it had issues with uniformity of people saying, well, hey, these people get paid this, these people get paid that. Why is that? And it used to be based on population, but I believe that they've made some changes to that. So, but I don't have that information in front of me. I apologize.
Yeah.
I think the whole thing is just a statement of community service as opposed to being paid a paid employee. There's some of us that feel that this is a service to the community, just like all the politicians, our founding fathers wanted this to be a service. Any community thing that you were voted into was supposed to be done as a service, not as a job. And most of our politicians around the country get paid way too much. There's too much money changing hands, and it affects the way that people vote. So this is just a principle thing. I know where he's going with this, and it has nothing to do with us being overpaid or underpaid. It's just there's a couple of us that feel it's a principle thing, and people should be serving because they want to, and because that's the way it was that's why our country was originally set up. So,
and I completely understand that. I kind of look at it as a little bit differently, as that if you have something complete on a volunteer basis, you may not get the best candidates. You may get people that are saying to themselves, I don't have the time, minus any kind of, type of things to motivate them and incentives to do that. And so I think that, one thing that people look at is insurances when people want to join up to city councils. And a while back, we removed the insurance from the city council. And it is, different councils have different things. School board, from what I understand, gets insurance, plus they get a stipend. It's a common thing for there to be a difference and it's also common for there to be difference in opinions too. So I'm just looking at kind of like the future and saying, hey, you know, if you gave someone, you know, what the state is saying would be the rate, the going rate to do the job, that we'd probably get more people that would apply for it, rather than someone saying, you know, hey, I'm gonna do it as we're doing and doing it for the least amount, and saying to themselves, I'm gonna get, you know, 50% of the population unhappy with me no matter what I do. So that's a kind of a tough ask. And so understanding and completely respecting your opinions, yeah, no, I get it. And so I just have a little bit of different outlook on it, but I understand.
Yes, I think the best way would be to make a motion to remove the council pay increase from the budget. And then you could vote on that motion, and if it passed, it would be removed, and then we would, if we need to, we would come back and adjust the ordinance at some time later. But the next step immediately after that would be to decide, okay, with the council pay increase having passed, and now it's out of what's being presented to you, are you gonna pass the rest of the budget? So that's how that would proceed.
Yeah. So I would like to make the motion to remove that.
It's been motioned. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Can I get I think we do need a roll call vote on this, huh?
Yeah, because it's gonna be mixed anyways. We need to
Okay.
know who.
Can I get a roll call vote?
Councilman Schindler,
Aye.
Councilman Hedgecock,
Aye.
Councilman Ramirez, Mayor Pro Tem Horn,
Aye.
Mayor Vosberg.
Well, I'll go with the crew. I also vote aye.
Okay, so the council pay increase being removed out of the budget, the larger question remains, now, do you wish to approve the budget with that being extracted for now?
I'll make a motion to approve it with that being extracted for now.
And I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Can I get a roll call?
Councilman Hedgecock,
Aye.
Councilman Schindler,
Aye.
Councilman Ramirez, Mayor Pro Tem Horn,
Aye.
Mayor Vosberg.
And I also vote aye. The budget passes.
Six one.
So we're going to move, make sure I don't press the panic button here. We're gonna move on to item number 6.1. City Council authorizing the interim city manager to execute a letter of interest with Momentum Tactical LLC Military Freefall Training Facility at Kalinga Municipal Airport.
All right. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Staff's recommending that the City Council approve a letter of intent submitted by Momentum Tactical expressing the intent to locate military freefall training and tactical canopy instruction facility at the Kalinga Municipal Airport, and authorize staff to begin kind of formal lease and site planning negotiations. Really, the action tonight really allows staff direction to start working with this group. Momentum Tactical is a veteran-owned training company founded in 2024 by Matt Leonard and Pete Lebrano. The company specializes in military freefall and tactical canopy training for U.S. and allied defense personnel. Momentum Tactical is actively seeking a permanent California-based training site due to increased demand and limitations at existing locations in Arizona. Following a site visit and discussions with city and airport personnel, Momentum submitted a letter of interest dated May 16th, proposing to establish a reoccurring training operation at the municipal airport. Their proposed operation includes construction or modification of an 8,000 to 10,000 square foot hangar facility to house classroom, parachute packing, and gear storage. Training operations are looking to be 8 to 20 weeks of this military freefall training annually, supporting about 20 plus trainees per week. They're looking to use fixed-wing aircraft such as a CASA 212 or a DHC-4, using the airport's 5,000-foot runway. They'll also be using about 150 gallons a day of Jet A fuel, which we have talked to them about that because we don't currently have Jet A fuel, but there are solutions that we've been discussing with them to potentially generate a significant amount of revenue to the city when it comes to fuel usage. Also with that, we looked at the economic benefit of the local economic impact through lodging, meals, rental cars, and other services purchased in Kalinga. And it'll have some national recognition. Hosting a long-term federal training program could improve the airport's eligibility for aviation-related grants and funding. So I do have Pete and Matt. I think they're on Zoom. If you have any questions for them, I've had the pleasure of meeting them a couple times. I think Councilman Hedgecock has met with them as well. And we're just seeking direction from the council to proceed forward and start working with them and see what we can make work at the airport.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. Pete Lubrano from Momentum. My partner Matt is also on from the other side of the world. We've sent Sean Brewer and I believe Lonnie as well, kind of our intent, as well as kind of a one-pager of who we are and what we're looking to do. We followed up our site visit with a letter of intent to establish some sort of agreement with the city of Coalinga regarding the airport. I believe we've sent all of our documents to at least Mr. Brewer and Mr. Hedgecock. I don't know if any of the other council members have had the opportunity to kind of see what we're proposing, but we're open to questions at this point.
Yeah, we've included everything, Pete.
Okay. Yeah, pending your questions, there's nothing really changing from our original letter of intent that we sent in May.
Any questions from council?
How soon are you wanting to get moving on this?
That's a good question. As of right now, we're in talks with a couple different military clients. As of right now, we're looking at possibly hosting our first client in January of 26.
That's good. And I saw on our next discussion item, you guys have signed up to hopefully drop at our air show.
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking forward to it.
And I think we can assure that we can push the city in the right direction. There's a lot of lost revenue and usable space out there that we need to start using. And I think your company will be a great asset to the city.
I certainly hope so. It's the case, and I hope it's mutually beneficial.
Yeah, I just like to say I agree with that. I think it's going to be a great addition to the Coalinga Airport.
Any other questions or council, comments from council? No? All right.
We'll need a motion.
All right, can I entertain a motion?
I'll motion to proceed, speaking with them on leases and anything else they need.
And I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Any against? Seeing none, that passes. Excellent. We look forward to working with you.
Likewise, thank you for taking the time for us tonight. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Going to move on to item number 6.2. Council receive and provide potential direction related to Coalinga Air Show scheduled for Saturday, September 27th, 2025.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we're just requesting that Council kind of receive this report, and as we kind of move forward with the air show planning, and just kind of give you an update on kind of where we're at. We've actually had a lot of progress since the last time we've spoken. Again, the air show will be set for September 27th, 2025, and which will be held at the Coalinga Municipal Airport. We had previously discussed back in January, which included an update from the ICAS conference. And since then, we've spoken to performers, and as you can see from the list, we've got a commitment from quite a few performers. And so we've got a good lineup that we're establishing, that we've created. We have been in contact with the folks from Palm Springs, and they are looking to bring out a P63 and do some passes, as well as do somewhat of a nice exit as they depart the show. We also have a demo team of an SU-26, which off my head, I do not know exactly what that plane looks like, but and then we also have a single aerobatic. We have a comedy. It's Tucker's Air Patrol Rescue 82. It's kind of a comedy show. And so they usually do about 3 acts throughout the event. I had the pleasure of seeing his act when I went to the Capitol Air Show in Sacramento earlier this year, and it was quite entertaining. I think adults and kids will love it. He talks to the audience while he's up in the air. If he does the similar performance, he lands on an ambulance at the end of the on the runway. Not necessarily our ambulance, but an ambulance they bring. We've also got a warbird that's going to be coming out, and then also we have the Momentum Tactical with the paratroopers. We have been in contact with the folks out of Paso Robles who brought in, I think it's called the C-37. They've allowed, the reason why Momentum Tactical will be able to do the jumps is because the folks out of Paso said they'd be more than happy to have someone jump out of their airplane. So we're working with them on the logistics on getting them out there. We've been in contact with our air boss. I think we're looking to submit all of our waivers to the FAA here in the next week. And so as things evolve a little bit, we can always make changes to that, but we have the majority of all of that in line. So we just wanted to go over that with council. The city plans to cover the cost of the performers and associated event expenses. So as you see from the spreadsheet, you've got the cost of the performance, you've got there's a lot of hotel requests for accommodations as well as vehicle requirements. So we're actually gonna work with our enterprise fleet folks to see if we can get some rental cars in that'll allow them to and from, just from where they're staying at the hotel, back and forth from the location, because there will be a Friday evening practice as well. And we'll discuss kind of logistics on that as well. But as we did in the budget, as we built into the budget, we built in about $50,000 in the air show expenses, but we also put in revenue to offset that. And we're looking to do that through a combination of sponsorships, ticket sales, parking revenue, and other event-related proceeds. So as discussed, it's not guaranteed that we're gonna recoup all those costs. It's our first year, but the plan is to develop a sponsorship plan, a reasonable ticket price. We don't wanna price our residents and surrounding communities out of coming. I think it's gonna be a well-thought-out event, especially now that we're gonna have planes in the air this year. So I think that we're gonna develop a plan soon for sponsorships and other revenue generators, so then we can start actually advertising and getting this thing advertised now that we'll be solidifying contracts with these folks. So we're gonna do our best to make, in our, every effort to make the event as neutral as possible. So as soon upon your review and concurrence kind of this report and update, we're gonna proceed with executing performance contracts, securing the hotel accommodations, and we're gonna be utilizing the Best Western and arranging for vehicle rentals through Enterprise. And then staff will be developing a comprehensive sponsorship package to support the event, and that'll allow us to start actively promoting the event as well. But with that, I'll be happy to take any other additional questions if you have any right now.
I'm just curious. That's awesome. I'm excited about this. Is there any interest from the Lemoore NAS?
Yeah, so we've been in contact with NAS about a possible flyover. We cannot get any commitments from them until about 60 days out. So once we make a contact with them, we'll be able to, we'll probably make a contact, I think, within about 60 days. And if they in fact agree to it and they are able to do it, then we'll be able to amend our FAA waiver to include a flyover as well.
That's good. And by soon to get the sponsors, the sponsor package stuff, you're talking like early July, so we can start pushing this?
Yes, we already have some drafts that I already started preparing some drafts, some breakdowns.
It'd be great to have something before the 4th, so when everybody's out with their people on the 4th of July weekend, we can start hustling this a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I like to get stuff done. Get her done as part of the new program.
And just one additional thing that, since the writing of this report, we do have a commitment from an announcer as well out of Fresno. Originally, he was not able to make it. He recently emailed Mercedes and said that his plans changed, so he's going to be able to be available for the event. So we'll have an actual professional announcer for the air show. Awesome. Yeah.
All right. Do we just, you got direction, or do we need to, really don't have to have a vote, right?
No, I think just concurrence that you guys are comfortable with our approach and that we can continue to move forward.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions or comments from council? No? All right. We're going to move on to the next item, which is 6.3, discussion, direction, potential action related to ambulance rate adjustment.
All right, good evening, Mayor, Council, City staff. My support group is here. Thank you guys for being here. So this proposal is discussing the ambulance rate increase and the reason and justification for it. The fire department is proposing a structured update to its ambulance service rate schedule. This revision is crucial considering the substantial increase in emergency medical services. The operating costs since the last rate adjustment in 2014, so it's been 11 years. Despite state and federal supplemental funding through the IGT program and PPGMT, the department still faced a shortfall of over $2.6 million in fiscal year 23-24, necessitating significant general fund contributions to maintain operations. Just a caveat with that is that's very typical in municipalities, so it's not anything out of the ordinary. This proposal outlines a plan to implement a fair tiered rate increase that aligns with regional benchmarks and ensures long-term service sustainability without impacting residents' out-of-pocket cost. And I'll explain that. This proposal is a comprehensive strategy to address Kalinga's longstanding fire department funding challenges by implementing a tiered ambulance rate structure. The department aims to improve cost recovery, reduce dependency on the general fund, and reinvest the revenue into fire and EMS operations. The proposed rates are in line with regional averages. AB 716, Assembly Bill 716, ensures that uninsured and low-income residents are protected from increased out-of-pocket cost. Additionally, with EMS call volume growing at an average annual rate of 3%, this structure will support the long-term sustainability of our emergency services. As you know, our fire department provides advanced life support ambulance services throughout its jurisdiction. Each day, the department deploys 3 ambulances, 2 stationed in Kalinga and 1 in the city of Huron. Units are staffed flexibly with a combination of firefighter paramedics, firefighter EMTs, and non-safety paramedic and EMTs based on operational needs. Annually, the system responds to approximately 3,500 EMS calls, resulting in around 2,500 transports. For over a decade, all transports have been billed at a flat rate of $14.10, irrespective of the level of care, and I'll get into that later with the slides of ALS 1, ALS 2, and BLS rate charges. So, and we also have an additional mileage charge of $32 per mile. This service supports residents of Kalinga and incorporated areas of Fresno County and the city of Huron. One thing that's very important I'll get to is the payer mix of our residents and our patients is 53% Medicare, Medi-Cal, 35% private insurance. 10% of that is private pay, and only 2% are uninsured or unable to pay. So why we need this change? As I've stated, we haven't had a rate change in 11 years. And as you know, the cost of doing business has greatly increased. In fact, it has greatly increased to the point of 93% on average of fire department operating cost in those 11 years. Our call volume and service areas have also expanded, and a flat rate system is under reimburses the advanced care or the ALS 2 structure that I'll get to. Are you doing it too, Robert? There we go. Okay. So the table below details the increase in operational fire department cost over the last decade. It includes the original and projected cost. changes from 2014 to 2025. So you can see personnel has increased 138% since 2014. One thing to note about the personnel is it also included 3 additional firefighters in 2018. So the 2014 numbers had 3 less firefighters than we do now, but you can still see the significant cost increase from that time. An ambulance back in 2014 cost us $240,000 to purchase, and recently with the new Freightliner coming that we ordered in 2023, it's $460,000 for a 92% increase. Medical supplies such as oxygen, IV stuff, all the equipment needed in the ambulances to take care of the patients has increased 75%. And a big one is fuel. Fuel's increased 167% from 75 to 125,000. Another asterisk of that is at the time in 2014 there was only 2 ambulances running, and now we're running 3. So just a brief breakdown of our revenue versus expenses. This is a breakdown of the department's financial composition for fiscal year 23-24. You can see that we billed $3.5 million, but due to the rules and government stipulations, we can only collect a certain percentage, and so that certain percentage was $1.8 million. We received $1.7 million from IGT and $700,000 from PPGMT for a collected revenue of $4.2 million. However, our operating cost of the fire department, O&M, personnel, everything included is almost $6.9 million. So you can see that this general fund subsidized the fire department by about $2.6 million. So here's a breakdown of what the current rates are versus the Fresno County averages, and I'll get to a slide that kind of shows everybody included, but you will see the breakdown. So the tiered rate that the standard nowadays for billing and what everybody uses is the ALS1, ALS2, and BLS. You can see we are $14.10 for all 3. And then a mileage rate of 32, where the county average is 2,040 for ALS1, 2,341 for ALS2, and about 1,600 for BLS. And the differences are on the far left column. And then the average mileage rate is 43.44. Oh, shoot. So that's really small. But I guess the most important thing to take away is the highlighted part at the bottom, which is us, and we are dead last. This is in order of the entire CC EMSA region, which is Fresno, Madera, Kings, and Tulare counties. And we are dead last in our rates versus the rest of the cities within CC EMSA. So that brings me to my recommendation. So first thing I want to say is this isn't just pull numbers out of a hat. This is a very detailed, organized, data collected, data driven response based off of our numbers versus our cost of service to provide service. So while it looks like a rather high number rate increase, if you think about the fact that it hasn't been changed in 11 years, it's really not. If you were to take just CPI alone at 3%, around 3% for 11 years, it would be a 33% increase. And this is roughly 37 or 38% increase. So my recommendation is that we look at first of all, getting rid of the flat rate structure and going to a tiered base rate structure for ALS1, ALS2, and BLS. Those are the recommended rates of $2,600 for ALS1, $2,950 for ALS2, and $2,100 for BLS. The mileage thing I will get to in a later slide, but because we're so far out, we have extended distances to hospitals. And so the recommendation was actually to go up to almost $52 per mile. I've decided that, in some discussion with some council, was in order to prevent that drastic rate increase to where your mileage would almost cost more than your ambulance bill, is we should reduce that rate. So we've gone from 32 to 30 to help alleviate that strain. So I did a little scenario to kind of summarize things and let you know where these numbers are coming from. So if we take the current rate and we talk about the proposed tier rate, on average, we are receiving about $800 per call. With the new proposed rate, we would receive $14.40 per call, and this is based on an anticipated, assumed, very conservative 60% collection rate from billing. In reality, we're up near 68, 70%. But to be conservative, I put the numbers in at 60. So the daily revenue would be, we're averaging about 2.3, which is actually more. I think it's actually almost 4 calls per day, to 1841 to 3310. And then the daily cost per ambulance is from the EMS allocation model, which basically is the cost of service, right? How much does it cost to pay personnel? How much does it cost to run the ambulance? How much is fuel? How much are supplies? And the number was $37.60. So it costs us $3,760 per day to run an ambulance. So if we take those numbers at the current rate, we have a gap of $1,920. With the introduced new tiered rate structure and increasing the rates, we're still negative, but we are much closer now to being more break even at about $450. This was the payer mix, just to show you that majority of our calls are Medicare and Medi-Cal based insurance. So the importance of the tiered rate. Tiered rates reflects the medical complexity, and what that basically means is the equipment that the paramedic uses, standard versus advanced care. The new model of billing is to charge for the advanced care. Back in the day, way back in the 90s and early 2000s, it was the flat rate structure, and we've gone away from that. It ensures appropriate reimbursement from Medicare, Medi-Cal, and private insurance. It aligns with federal and state billing standards. It supports long-term sustainability, and it enhances billing transparency to the public because you get an itemized deduction list of everything you were charged for from the billing agencies, which is now a federal requirement as well. So one of the most important considerations when implementing a new ambulance rate structure is how it's going to affect the residents, right? The following points address the community impact and highlight key protections and benefits built into the proposal. This is what is known as Assembly Bill 716. So the rate increase is focused on recovering costs from the insurer and government programs, not the residents. The insurance companies are now mandated to pay the posted ambulance rate minus any deductible for the patient, where in the past they were on the hook for the difference. In January 1st of 2024, so it's a recently new bill, it changed, and a lot of people don't know that. So the rate increase is focused on recovering costs from insurers. Legal protections and program and safeguards ensure that Coalinga citizens remain protected from financial hardship while benefiting from the continued investment in the fire department's quality and coverage of service. And this is for both in-network and out-of-network patients. There's always a question if this is out-of-network as well, because there was problems in the past if you were an out-of-network patient, and Assembly Bill 716 addressed that. So some projected revenue impacts. So to better reflect the realities of ambulance usage in Coalinga, a revenue projection was calculated using actual transport data. So I combined all of our data. We had 113,000 ambulance miles that were billed at $32 a mile. The most common hospitals that we transport to is Coalinga Regional, which is about 2 miles away, Hanford Hospital at 44 miles away, and Regional Medical Center Fresno at 63 miles away. So when you took all that into consideration and basically created a scenario based on that information, the weighted average transport distance is approximately 37 miles. So using this average mileage and a reduced per mileage charge of $30 for the rural community impact, the following annual net revenue is projected based on a 2,500 total transport, assuming a 60% collection rate. So in the left column, you can see everything current. Total revenue is 2.2 million, which we were like 2.1. So this is dead on. So the proposed net revenue, if you approve the tiered rate increase, we are looking at a significant increase in revenue from 2 million to almost 5.6 million, based off the tiered rate structure and billing as per the type of call that it is. So it's a pretty significant increase, and it's going to really help the fire department be able to sustain operations and be financially stable for years to come. So, and then what happens if we don't approve this, right? If we don't approve this, what we're going to happen is we're paying $14.10 for the last 11 years, and cost is going like this to operate a fire department. At some point, we're going to be so far apart that we're gonna price ourselves out, you know. And so we have the potential to increase our budget deficit, which can have a risk to staffing and services to the community. And then we're missing out on revenue opportunities by not going to a tiered rate structure. So one of the biggest things when you go to do an ambulance rate increase is, like I said, you just can't pull numbers out of a hat. You have to have justification for it. So the proposed ambulance rate adjustment is explicitly designed to meet the public policy and legal standards of recovering the reasonable cost to the city of conferring the benefit of emergency medical services. Fancy legal jargon, right? The benefit of emergency medical services and evaluating the standard, the following criteria have been considered and are fully addressed in this proposal. This proposal fulfills the requirement of charging fees that reflect the reasonable cost of conferring a critical public benefit as defined by California legal and policy standards. It does so while maintaining public trust, service quality, and fiscal responsibility. So the bullet points there are to be compliant with reasonable cost to city standard. Do you have a clearly defined benefit? Yes. Do you have actual cost documentation? Yes. Does your revenue align with cost recovery? Yes. As I showed in previous slides, our cost recovery is now almost getting to net zero, right? Does your equity and legal is equity and legal protection maintained? Yes, we check that box with AB 716 protections. Is your benchmark best practices aligned with other regional averages? Yes, and you can see there that we are now closer aligned and actually even a little bit higher. However, those numbers are averages. The highest Fresno County agency for their ALS2 is almost $3,700, and the highest Fresno County average for ALS1 is almost $2,600. So these are the averages, but we aren't going to be the highest, and we aren't going to be the lowest anymore. We're going to be right in the middle where we should be. So how do we prevent this from happening again, right? It's been 11 years without a rate increase. Who knows why it happened, how it happened. It slipped through the cracks. But what are we going to do to prevent this from happening again? So my recommendation is to ensure the ambulance rate remain in line with actual service cost, and to avoid another long-term gap, we implement some processes for regular reviews and adjustments. And one of those is the annual review. I'd like to require an annual review of ambulance rates using the Fresno County CCMSA rate survey, or CPI. I would like to implement a 3-year rate adjustment cycle, to institute a formal policy to evaluate and adjust EMS rates no less than every 3 years. This keeps rate changes gradual, reasonable, and reflective of evolving operational needs. I would like to do an annual EMS revenue and cost recovery summary report. We should be able to provide an annual report to City Council showing EMS operating costs, collected revenue, cost recovery percentages, and projected funding surplus or shortfall. And then include a strategic planning and fee updates annually. EMS rates should be incorporated into regular master fee schedule reviews and long-term financial plan. So if we adopt those practices, the city of Coalinga can assure a stable, forward-looking funding model that protects essential fire department services and maintains our financial resilience. So I know that was a lot. And I also emailed you guys the entire proposal a couple weeks ago. I think it was 18 pages long. I wasn't going to go over all 18 pages tonight. So this is kind of a brief summary of the entire proposal, and for the community to hear and have full transparency. So kind of a summary real quick is we would go to a tiered rate system. We would adjust our mileage from 32 to 30 to promote fairness for rural transport. Like I said, we're looking at projected revenue of 5.6 million compared to the 2.1 of last year. If we do we continue to have the ongoing protection for uninsured and out-of-network patients under AB 716, and then we'll align with Fresno County regional averages while reducing the patient costs of burden for long-distance transports. And then addition, if we implement those fail-safes to prevent this from happening again. Which brings me to my final recommendation is for council to, after you have heard this and ask any questions, is that we approve this to be adopted and it take effect July 1st. And then we continue to update and evaluate this annually so that we can keep safeguards in place. So with that, I know there's a lot of information. I got a lot of blank stares right now. So if you guys have any questions, if you have anything, I know it's a lot of information and a lot of legal jargon, but I feel that this is probably one of the biggest things we could do in the 5 years that I've been here is looking at this to protect ourselves and make sure that we have a sustainable revenue source from now and into the future long term. So thank you.
Thank you. So I guess my initial comment on this is taking the assumption that the ambulance service and the fire department are the same, and that you're offsetting the fire service with the ambulance revenue. Because, you know, I don't know any city that doesn't have a black hole for fire department. So that's what this is taking into consideration, that you're trying to offset that with ambulance revenue. And looking at the largest increase was salaries. And as you stated, it was adding fire personnel for those. So I'm just looking at that and saying to myself, interesting. I'd like to take more time to look at this because I think these are dramatic increases, and I think that it's going to put us, depending on how you look at it, in some ways, even though you lowered the mileage, I did the math, and on every aspect of it, it still goes up, even though you lowered the mileage. So you could lower the mileage to about $25 and it still wouldn't make a difference. We'd still be on the up and up. We'd still be going way up above. And when I look at the rates, because I got them in front of me from all the different places, not everyone is hosting a fire department when they're hosting an ambulance company.
Correct. Yeah, there's definitely private ambulance included in
So when you're looking at that, those aren't apples to apples. Those are actually apples to oranges, because these companies, like for instance, American Ambulance, isn't taking into consideration a fire department that they're going to look at. So, you know, I'm not saying that this is a bad plan. I look at it and I'd like to know what I highly doubt that anything like this isn't going to have consequences to the residents of either insurance rates going up. I just know insurance companies, as soon as they start seeing increases, that they roll those increases as well. And I also look at the fact that people that aren't uninsured, that'll be an interesting one. You know, they'll be getting larger bills than they're already getting now. And I'm already getting complaints from people saying that they've gotten extremely high bills. And the idea that, you know, that insurance companies didn't have to pay, that based on coverage network and based on, you know, how much they would pay specifically, that was even a bigger issue. So when I'm looking at this, I'm saying it's really going to put us, so I have a question. What's the difference in between ALS 1 rates and ALS 2?
Yeah, as I explained in the presentation, the ALS 2 and ALS 1 difference is the equipment. So with an ALS 2, it's the type of call.
No, but
so
I mean,
if we
how many calls do we get ALS 1 compared to 2?
I actually have that. I think it's in the actual staff report. Let me look real quick. If not, I'll have to get you that information. I do not see it in the staff report, but I can get that for you. It might be in the full proposal. Let me see. Sorry, let me.
No, you're good. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, I understand. It's overwhelming. It was,
And what plans
was
do
a-
you have to do with the revenue that comes in?
so the revenue is general fund, right? I mean, it's going to the general fund, whether we like it or not. It's for every department within the general fund. Obviously, we're going to ask for some of it to be used for EMS and fire services, being that the individuals out there running the ambulance calls are doing the work to get this increased revenue. But I also am fully aware that it is a general fund revenue. So whatever the city manager decides to do with the money, I support.
Those are kind of just like my statements and then that one question. I don't know. Council, any questions or any ideas?
I have a couple. Do insurances look at this, or does it go into a platform with the insurances?
Sorry, I was looking for Mayor's
I
question.
was
Oh,
saying
so
that-
what was
do-
that again?
Do insurances look at this platform or anything like that? So even if
They're billion-dollar companies. They
Right.
don't really, I mean, they basically receive the bill from our biller and
They
they
just-
pay it.
okay.
They pay what their portion is, so
Okay.
it's not really anything that they dispute.
Okay. So they won't see if it rate went up and.
No.
Okay. My other question is, the revenue as you bill somebody, is the company that is taking care of the bill, what's the process on them getting the quicker money from the insurance? If the insurances wouldn't mind paying this, how fast can you get that money bill? As it's seen right there, it says you bill 3 million, but you only get $1 million and something.
Yeah, that's just the guidelines of, it's a very complicated, detailed answer. It's basically the rates that are set. They are, so, okay. I'm gonna try to make this as easy as I can. So we respond to a patient, right? We have a rate. That rate goes to the biller. The biller gives it to the insurance company.
Right.
If it's a Medicare or Medi-Cal patient, they only have to pay a certain amount. If it's insurance, private insurance, they only have to pay a certain amount. And then if it's private pay, then you pay that amount. And then we have, like I said, we only have 2% of our payer mix that aren't insured or don't pay anything. So to answer your question, it varies. It varies depending on the type of insurance that is being collected. I'm still trying to find Mayor.
So it's basically the buy down on the bill. Like anytime you go to the hospital, insurance bills, $10. The doctor bill's $10. The insurance says, well, we have agreed to $5. So
Right.
that's all they get.
And so, yeah, and one of the things I kind of wanted to explain what AB 716 is, but I didn't want to get into so much detail that we spend a lot of time on it, but now I feel it's kind of important. So what AB 716 does for the patient, the AB 716 protects the patient. It was designed to protect the patient. It's not designed to protect the insurance companies or the billers or the providers. It's designed to protect the patient. So what it does, it's a law that eliminates any surprise billing for out-of-network or in-network ground ambulance services. So it protects you from, if we charge a certain rate now, and your portion of the bill is your deductible, if our rate increases, your portion is still the deductible with AB 716. You're not going to get a surprise bill that says, oh, Kalinga Fire raised their rate to this, you now owe the balance or difference of this. And that wasn't in the past. This is brand new, because in the past, yes, unfortunately, you were stuck with that increase if the insurance company only paid a certain amount. But just 1 year ago, that's why a lot of people don't know this, is that this is brand new in January of 2024, to where they said, we're going to protect the patient and we're not going to have any surprise billing. So if providers increase their rates, the insurance company is now obligated. They're going after the insurance companies to say, you need to pay the difference. We're not going to put the burden on the patient or the citizen, the community member. And so that's kind of AB 716 in a nutshell.
So, and, due to that, we just seen with the fires. Look, they raised everyone's fire rates. I don't see there's any way that the insurance companies aren't gonna raise rates based around this. They're not just gonna take the losses. I just don't understand how that happens, because I don't ever see that happening. They always pass those on to everyone else.
And I'm not going to tell you that they won't, because I have no idea.
Yeah.
But it's been a year, and we haven't really received any feedback, comments, complaints, phone calls asking about stuff like that. So, but who's to say that, you know, they're not working behind the scenes and
on your ALS 1 rate, you plan on taking that up to how much again?
ALS 1 is, I got to go back to that side. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I'm still trying to find your other answer.
Okay, 2,600.
26.
Okay. And
26 for ALS 1, 2,950 ALS 2, and 2,100 for BLS.
The average ALS 1 rate right now is 1,724. That's by the Fresno County website.
Yeah. That's the average, correct. Where's that at?
I'm not against raising funds for the general fund. I just I don't want this to hit our residents. They're already paying a lot for everything, you know, and they're looking at it the way you look at it, you're saying, hey, we should offset the entire fire department with the ambulance fees, and I don't think that's how everyone looks at that. So I mean, if we could do that, then and not only that, is it legal to do that?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you make the nexus at the fire department is, because usually you can only charge a fee based on what the actual outcome of that fee is. How do you come up with the actual cost of, you know, 2 or 3 guys in an ambulance driving so many miles and saying that fee equals this amount here? How do you come up with that?
It's all a formula. So that's what the compliance with the reasonable cost of the city standard was. And I actually spoke to our city attorney prior to working on this and asked him a couple questions about that. And that's what he sent back to me, was make sure that you're meeting these obligations and that your rates are, what would you call it?
And the reason I'm asking this question is because you showed about the deficit amount that we're not recovering, but that deficit amount is including the fire department. So if you take about how much money it costs to run the fire department itself, and you separate out those twos, you know, between the fire department and the ambulance, then I'm just saying, like, how is it fair to the citizens or whoever's going to get billed to this that they're going to pay for the fire department off of the ambulance? It just doesn't, to me, it doesn't make sense.
But AB 716 protects the citizens from that.
So I would guess that insurance is gonna go up regardless of what we do here in Coalinga. But that being said, though, I noticed that in 2014, your price scale for disposable supplies, treat, no transport, and non-transport, they haven't changed. Why is that? Why has none of that gone up? Disposable supplies.
Oh yeah,
415.
because nothing. So when I was talking with our biller, they were mentioning that if you go to the tiered rate, it's better to include all that stuff as a package, and then you can keep your same rates that they're at, because the disposable supplies are not used as often, and so that would be a separate.
But over 11 years, there's no change to the cost.
There's no
of it.
change in in what we charge, correct? So that's why, rather than changing the flat rate, the disposable, all that stuff, we bundled it, so to speak, into the tiered rate for ALS 1, ALS 2, and BLS.
Okay, and there's no difference in disposable supplies between the ALS 1 and 2?
No.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Mayor, I cannot find your.
It's okay.
Okay.
It's all
I
right.
can get it for you.
Yeah,
if
no,
you'd
it's
like,
okay.
But
Looking,
It's all right.
looking at your charts, you know, we are the bottom of the bell curve, so the reason the averages are so low is one reason is because of our charges, is what it looks like to me.
Oh, yeah, no, we're currently in the bottom. I'm not saying that we shouldn't raise our rates, but I'm just saying that we will definitely be in the top tier. You know, the current ALS 1 is 1724. you know, we will be in the top tier, and maybe that's what needs to happen in order to make things run for the future. I am just such a stickler for looking at the fact that you have two separate departments here, and you have the idea when you take and you talk about a fire department, you talk about an ambulance department, and then you have companies like American that don't have an ambulance department, and obviously they're being able to do it for this amount right here, but we're not, because we're also running a fire department. I just want that to be known that our ambulance, what we're talking about is offsetting the fire department with the ambulance, and I just feel like those are apples and oranges. Those are not the same thing. We're talking about, you have different services and fees and things like that go along with fire, then you have different services and fees that go along with ambulance. And what we're talking about is taking those services and fees and we're merging those together, and we're saying ambulance is gonna try and cover all of these fees. And I'm just saying that I've never seen that actually happen or be doable.
Okay, so the fire department operating budget is everything. It's total. And so when you're looking at it from a standard of the ambulance, you know, providing the fire side, it's the ambulance revenue providing the entire budget of the fire department that incorporates the fire side and the EMS side. In the cities of Sanger, Kingsburg, Selma, Dinuba, and us, that's how we budget and operate, is based off of the total budget, not separating the two entities.
And there,
No, I understand.
So, and
there
so
is some commingling of our department. I mean, it is the Kalinga Fire Department, so we do have personnel from the fire department that overlap with the EMS side. And I know that I think these numbers that are being presented include that commingling, not independent Kalinga EMS, Kalinga Fire.
Correct.
And so that's where your costs increase. I mean, you have a chief, you have battalion chiefs, you have supervisors that are on the fire side that are overseeing your EMTs and paramedics. And
Right,
so,
and that's what's actually contributing to most of these increases if you looked at the numbers that we put up on the screen. The 5 million mark was, or whatever, the largest one was those numbers, not the ambulance side.
So,
I just want to make these points, that's
Another
all. I
quick
want the
question.
public to know, because this is
So
their money that we're talking about here.
Also, I wanted to let you know, in the full proposal packet, there is an option for just doing a 10% decrease from the recommended. So if you feel that the rates are, you know, astronomical and have concerns, there is an option in the full proposal to do 10% decrease of the recommended, which would go from 2600 ALS1 to 2340, 2950 ALS2 to 2655, and 2100 to 1890 for BLS. We would still see revenue increase, but we could also address the concerns that you guys may have.
if you were to redistribute some of this base rate into the disposable supplies and the others, then that base rate would look lower. You said it was a package, correct?
Yes, correct.
There's some of it.
I mean, I guess it's just how it looks on paper to me, that's all. I look at it on paper and I say to myself that, and like I said, I'm not even saying it's a bad thing, I'm just pointing it out. I mean, we need to pay for our fire department, we need to pay for both of them, I'm just pointing it out.
And
you know, that's-
and here, we want to be fully transparent, right? We
Yeah,
want to be fully
that's my
transparent.
goal.
We want to make sure that we're advising you and the public of how we're doing this, and just to let you know that it's not just pulling numbers out of a hat. We've done a very detailed analysis of this using data, using comparables, going the cost of services and stuff like that. So, and the other thing to take into consideration is it's been 11 years. Of course, it's going to look like a huge number. If we were just doing 2% or 3% increases every year, it wouldn't seem that big of a deal. But when it's been 11 years and we've had the same rates and the cost of services are going like this and our rates and revenue are going like this, that's another reason why it looks like such a big number is because it's been 11 years since there's been any increase.
Well,
So,
and I think, just to interject a little bit, I think that the impact, the overall revenue number is not a number we tried to reach.
No.
It's the reality of doing an extensive analysis of our costs for service, similar to what we do for business licensing and other fees for services that we provide here at City Hall. It just happens to be a large increase due to the time frame that we haven't really gone through this process. And so it's not necessary. The reality of it is, yes, it does offset those costs, but if we look at it in the big picture, it offsets general fund expenses. It's not necessarily just the fire department. It could be, it's general fund expenses, because a lot of employees, a lot of your personnel costs, other operations, it's not just the fire department that contribute to the cost for EMS. From the city manager down, there's a lot of people, a lot of services that are involved in that particular process to make sure that the EMS side is successful and operates. So just kind of putting it a little bit into perspective. But
So, Tom, if you're going to comment, you got to come up to the mic.
What's being missed here is that EMS, at least in California, if not most of the United States, is EMS. The fire service didn't get really into EMS. It was strictly emergency, strictly fire. Long about the 70s, that started changing. And private paramedics, private EMT ambulance companies, it's a business. It has always been a business. Forgive me, this was before my time, slightly, Mother Jugs and Speed. Ambulance companies out there competing to get the transport. Fire departments did not per se transport. They were not fire EMS holistically until that point of the early 70s. EMS is not taxpayer funded. That's what's being missed here, whereas the fire department is taxpayer funded. So that's where you keep running into this, trying to resolve. If you were to do away with the ambulance districts in Fresno County or most of Central Valley, you'd have a private ambulance come in instead of fire, and that private ambulance company would take that profit and they'd roll it back into their company. Since you have fire departments running EMS, the profits get rolled back into the general fund.
Thanks, Tom. Anyone else from council have anything to say?
I appreciate all the time you put into this and letting us see it like a business, because that's what we are. We're a business and everybody's involved. The citizens, we're all citizens of Kalinga, except a couple that drive back and forth, but that's beside the point. But we're all taxpayers. Doesn't matter what seat you're sitting in. And the fire department takes care of us. The ambulances take care of us. So looking at it from a business point, it's something that has needed to be done for a long time. It's been missed. There's a lot of things that we're finding that have been missed over the years that we need to correct. Like you were talking about the council pay, even though I don't agree with it, that's something that's been missed. And it needs to be, all that stuff needs to be resolved, and we need to come to a good conclusion and outcome for our city. And having the funds to take care of our citizens is the end result. So we have to increase in order to be able to take care of our citizens.
Yes. Sorry, Mary.
Mary Jones, I certainly appreciate the services we have. That being said, I think the public needs to know about the funding and the insurance changes and stuff like that. The last time I broke a leg or something and I just wanted to kill myself, not really, but I mean, I went into a deep depression when I got the bill because my insurance said, you have to pay this. And I thought, well, if I'd known that, I would have just held onto the roof rack or something, because it was horrible. So whatever you decide, we need to explain everything, because that's a huge change.
What year was that?
4 years, 3.5 years ago.
So it's prior to
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mary, and that's actually the reason for this is I received a bill through the roof too. And my insurance company said they weren't gonna pay it. And when I called them on the phone and I said, well, why aren't you gonna pay it? They said, well, because Kalinga the difference in the mileage between Kalinga and everywhere else, we pay more for Kalinga every single time. They said, we pay more. And I said, well, okay, well, we probably pay more in insurance then too. They said, well, we're not covering that. Now you have to pay for that. And it was gonna be a difference of like $2,000 or $3,000 that I was gonna have to pay. And so, and the lady was very thorough with me on the phone, blaming the fact that where we're at costs more to get from point A to point B, and that because of that, our fees are more. And so that's why I'm looking out for this scenario, because I understand that it's not just me, because I've heard this from all kinds of other people, but as the chief has pointed out, and we've had conversations in private about this, that this has changed, and so that's a big game changer. I'm just doing my due diligence.
The other thing too is that they say that you should have gone to an emergency room locally before you use the transport. And where we are, they said they couldn't help me here. So why would we do that? But it's another argument, and I know it's very complicated and it's silly and it needs to be overhauled.
So that was the other argument that they stated, was they were out of network. And I said, well, how could they be out of network? There's the only hospital in Kalinga. And they said, but it is. And I said, but so you're telling me the school district is out of network? And also the chief addressed that as well.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, I guess where this comes down for me personally is that the mitigating of this factor is mostly going to come out towards the insurance companies.
Yeah.
And it's going to increase the amount of general fund revenue that we're going to be able to get, which will actually help our community. Because when I ran for office, I said that I would not vote for any increases, which is why this is so near and dear to me. And so far, we have not voted for even one increase. In fact, we've had some decreases in services in different areas. And so I'm trying to struggle with to myself, how will this be a decrease? And I think the decrease comes in the fact that the citizens will get more services, bang for their buck, because the insurances are going to be the ones stepping up to pay for it. And the mitigated, because I looked in this and they said ambulance bills are 1% of insurance billings.
Correct.
Which means that it couldn't lead to that much of an increase on the insurance side.
And another thing that I just thought of was, we also service 1,500 square miles of this area. This isn't just Kalinga residents that we provide service to. So it's a small percentage of Kalinga residents that are actually affected in the grand scheme of things of our entire ambulance receipts. Because we have Huron, we have outlying areas, we have other jurisdictions than just the actual residents of Kalinga. The state hospital is a huge percentage of calls. So it's not just the Kalinga residents, taking into consideration that we also service 1,500 square miles outside the city limits. So
I do think it's a good idea. I mean, it is, like you mentioned, it looks high, but in the long run, we'll be there. And you've done a great job on the whole information, which we appreciate.
Thank you, sir.
And I would like to see like more informant where we don't take 11 years to do that, and I'd love to see, let's get those stages exactly.
Yes, sir.
So yes, and I'm glad that we have this fire and ambulance. So, if we have to do what we have to do, then yeah, but we just gotta make sure that we don't take 11 years anymore.
Yes, sir.
Any other comments from council? Can I entertain a motion? Yeah, go for it.
I would love to make a motion on this, so we could get back on track.
So I believe, I believe there's
To move forward.
There's a resolution to go with a tiered rate structure at the rates presented.
So there's two.
Also include the protections of preventing this from happening again.
So is basically what we're looking for direction, consensus of the council to move forward?
No.
Or do you need a vote?
There's a resolution attached, so it would be to approve the resolution.
Okay. You making the motion to approve the resolution?
Resolution 4277.
To the increase of, what was it, every single time, or?
So the resolution has everything built into what the chief
Right.
has presented. So the increases, it comes back, the SB protections, you don't need to mess with those. But essentially, following the chief's recommendation would be to approve the resolution.
Okay, yes. To approve the resolution.
It's been moved.
I'll second. You say.
It's been moved and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote?
Councilman Ramirez,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Horn,
Aye.
Councilman Hedgecock,
Aye.
Councilman Schindler,
Aye.
Mayor Vosberg.
I'll be voting yes because I think this is actually going to go farther for the citizens and that they'll actually experience more of a benefit than they will on on unmitigated costs from insurance companies. So my vote's yes. Passes.
Thank you all.
All right, moving on to 7.1, city manager's announcements.
I have none, Mayor.
Mayor, can I make an announcement?
You're not on
Yes,
the
sir.
list.
Yeah, I'm not on the list, that's why I have to ask.
Go for it.
Yeah. I just want to let the council and department heads know, you're going to be getting an email from Shannon. July 1st is our firm's 80th anniversary. And so we're having a little open house next Friday, and everybody's invited, public's invited if you want to come, make it to Hanford. But some of you guys may know that we do have a pretty close tie to Hanford. One of our partners lives here currently, and his dad was I believe, a history teacher at Kalinga High School for years and years and years. So if you knew Mr. Carlson, yeah. So his son is one of our partners and has been for many years.
Very nice. Any other council members' announcements?
Actually, I would like to thank all the athletes for Kalinga High. This year was a very promising year. A lot of Valley champions, a lot of all-stars that came out from our town to participate in city, county, in baseball, football, softball, you name it. I'm very proud of our Kalinga High School and our student athletes, not only graduating, but moving forward. So congratulations to all these athletes and students.
Any other announcements? No? Mayor's announcements. I'd just like to thank all of our public safety for coming. I know it's probably tough to listen to people dissect things that are right in front of you, and but you do know I think we all do this, but I know I do this a lot, and I dissect things because the public, this is how we operate. Is we take and we bring this out, we dissect it, we talk about it, we invite the public to talk about it, and hopefully we move forward with the best plans that we can, and that's always the goal. So I just want to thank everyone for coming. I want to thank the public for coming.
Sorry, go ahead.
And I'll turn this over to City Manager.
One thing, I just received a message. I just wanted to let the public know, anybody who's watching it, that currently our 911 system is down. They've flipped the switch to Fresno Sheriff's Office. So we're still accepting 911 calls, but they will be coming through the Sheriff's Office until we get that line fixed. So, yeah. So they're trying to figure out what the issue is.
Okay, and we'll move on to future agenda items.
I have one. I would like a future agenda item for a briefing or a workshop presenting the city's safety policies, safety procedures, including catastrophic emergency response preparedness, training, and readiness with all the departments, police, fire, city works, everybody. I want to see what's going on behind the scenes.
Excellent. Any others? Okay, I have two, and one is kind of riding on what Councilman Hedgecock said. I'd like to see all of our ERP information put on our website under an emergency. We have things to do with water, we have to do things with police and fire, evacuations, things of that nature. I'd like to see a separate place on the website for that information. And then the second thing is I'd like to get a microphone for the public. I know that for some folks, they literally can't, without pain, move up here. And I think it wouldn't be an issue for someone to take the microphone down there, so if that's okay. And then, any other future agenda items?
Yeah, I'd like to take my stipend, the entire stipend, and see what it'll take to have it all donated until the end of my term to the county, K-9 Foundation to use as they see needed.
If we would have voted for the increase, you could have gave them even more.
When it adjust, if it adjusts, it'll go.
Okay. I'm just playing. Any other future agenda items? Okay. Okay, seeing none, we're gonna move to closed session where we have 4 items: city manager's performance evaluation, real property negotiations. That would be 2 items, 54956.8 and 54956.8, same ones. Looks like the parcels are a little bit different. APN 083-123-02 and APN 083-03068 and 083-03063. And I apologize, but I don't know what those parcels are, so we're gonna hear about that. And then we have the public appointment, the city manager. Do we expect to be appointing out?
No.
No? All right. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.